The multiplayer genre is extremely popular, but the question is,
what if you don't have friends? This is a question that has plagued multiplayer video games since the dawn of 1958. Something I've always found fascinating about video games is the various approaches when it comes to taking a game that is inherently multiplayer and making it accessible to people like me. Lonely people. When it comes to playing a multiplayer game by yourself, some games just aren't nearly as fun to play by yourself. Most games will just throw in a training mode and call it a day, which, if done well, can be extremely effective. Especially if the game is highly competitive, a good training mode is a must. And if you're Nintendo, you might just make such a good training mode that you spawn an entire community around it.
Combos. I have never seen anything like this before. I'm just like... I love that he starts it with down B. There we go! Oh my god! And no way!
But not all companies can be Nintendo. Some are more like Activision. Money. Unlockables are a fantastic way to incentivize people to play your game. And the most modern version of unlockables is, of course, the Battle Pass. First done by Fortnite. Actually, Valve did this first in Dota 2 way back in 2013 for an event, but who cares? Shut up. Well, Fortnite definitely popularized it, and as it clearly paid off monetarily, pretty much every online game followed suit. And now we got the Valorant Battle Pass, the Rocket Pass, the Rift from Dead by Daylight, the Brawlhalla Battle Pass, Splitgate, Apex Legends. I think Clash Royale has one. The Battle Pass system works so well for online games because it gives the player a reason to play where there really wasn't any before. Also, most players are understandably hesitant to spend $100 on a skin bundle. So when the Battle Pass is only like $10, and you get a ton of gun skins, tons of sprays, gun buddies, banners, I mean, you'd be stupid not to buy it, right? Right? The Battle Pass formula is insanely profitable for a reason. I mean, instead of getting like one dopamine boost from one purchase, you get like 100 dopamine boosts from one purchase. It's just a really smart business model, and if you think too hard about it, a little bit morally questionable. Speaking of morally questionable, want to talk about video games? When it comes to fighting games, an absolute staple is the classic arcade mode, which is essentially just a gauntlet of AI fighters that get progressively more difficult as you go. Games like Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Street Fighter, they all use this simple mode. But I grew up a Nintendo kid, so my only exposure to fighting games was
Super Smash Brothers!
Super Smash Bros. Has given me hundreds and hundreds of hours of entertainment, and only like 60 of those hours were with other people. I mean, I've fought more CPUs in the multiplayer modes than actual humans, and that's kinda sad. But it also says something about how much I adore this series, and, of course, with all that time, I've spent a good bit of it playing the classic mode, which is basically the arcade mode of this series, and while it's still mostly just fighting CPUs, Smash adds minigames and unique fights to keep it interesting, such as
Fighting Polygon Team!
Smash was made to be played with friends. I mean, it has brothers in the name. The game was clearly not built to be played by yourself. And yet, little me would still boot up Smash and just fight CPUs for hours, and I would try to fight the highest level CPU I could. It was very simple, but it was enough for my peanut brain to be entertained. More recently, I started playing through Street Fighter 2, and it is unforgiving. Let alone the huge learning curve, the bots in this game are some of the most cold-blooded AI I've seen in any game. Going into this game without any Street Fighter experience was... not easy. In the first couple minutes of booting it up, just getting dumpstered over and over, it was kind of hard not to just give up. But finally pulling off a win, sort of proving that I'm improving, it felt really good.
You win.
And with that being said, I do not recommend it. I'd recommend picking up a Street Fighter with an actual tutorial, because boy, it's rough. But I still enjoyed it at least. It was a bit of a grind, but hey, no pain, no gain, eh? We have to talk about Subspace. Smash isn't an easy game to write a story for. I mean, how are you supposed to write a story with like 100 main characters? Also, none of them can talk. And still, Subspace Emissary was created. And let's be honest here, the gameplay isn't great. But when it comes to Subspace, we're not here for gameplay. Subspace Emissary is one of the greatest single-player modes in multiplayer games of all time. And it isn't even that fun. But when it was 2008, seeing all these beloved video game characters interact with each other for the first time, it was mind-blowing. And with all that being said, I'm sure you have a few questions, such as, who cares? How would this affect me in the slightest? Wait, who are you? How did you get in my house?